Video 17, My Drug Problem. How to find out what you ought to think. We've gone through a whole lot of harms, and you've seen my attributions, of course. In my way of thinking, illegality is the greatest cause of the drug harm, even of health harms. And I think it is so even before the monetary cost of illegality is entered into the overall equation. And though you might not agree with me 100%, I figure, especially if you've followed this video so far, that if you started watching this series being pro-illegalization, yet open to reason, you should by now be sufficiently impressed by my arguments to at least think he's right. Illegality itself is a greater cause of harm than I initially figured. Now, if you want to take this test yourself and go through the 50 or so harms that are suggested to make up the drug problem and attach weights and percentages to each of them, then you might be able to do so on my homepage at the bottom of the drug problem by clicking My Drug Problem. If this Excel spreadsheet doesn't work, you can either find out how to do it in my book, The Drug Problem, or you can contact me and I will try to mail you the sheet. If you take the test, then for each harm you must ask yourself, if drugs were legalized in the way that I would have legalized them, if you were forced to, how would that have affected this particular harm? In what direction and how much would the strength of this particular harm change? Also, you must remember that different harms carry different weights. They contribute differently to whatever you see as the drug problem. So weights must be attached to each single harm and multiplied with the percentage change you figure would result from your legalization. To take the test, you must 1. Remove and add the harms you want to remove or add, and then 2. Make sure that the sum of all harm percentages comes to 1 or 100% before you start to decide on how the strength of each individual harm would change with your legalization. Using my personal healthcare costs estimates, that's harm number 1, would give the following first row in text and in numbers. I believe that if drugs got legalized the way I would legalize them, then healthcare costs would fall with 40%. I further believe or hold that healthcare costs make up 5% of my drug problem. This means that in regards to the partial harm of healthcare costs, drug legalization would cause a 2%, because minus 0.40 times 0.05 equals minus 0.02, i.e. 2%, reduction of my overall drug problem before taking and in addition it would cause less into account. Next video will be a sort of a short version of this text. It will also divide the concept of illegality into supply illegality and demand illegality, suggesting that legalization without supply legalization is a bad idea.